A weaver bird doesn't need to be taught how to build its intricate structure. It's born with a physical instinct, an inherited software program that tells it exactly what to do. Humans operate exactly the same way, but instead of inheriting physical instincts, we inherit psychological ones. The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung realized this over a century ago. He proposed that the human mind doesn't arrive as a blank slate. Instead, it comes pre-installed with an ancient, universal operating system that dictates how we interpret the world. This means the thoughts, desires, and behaviors we assume are our own are guided by deep, universal blueprints shared by every person on Earth. If you look at the mythologies of entirely isolated ancient cultures and compare them to modern Hollywood blockbusters, you'll find the exact same character templates repeating over and over again. The wandering hero, the wise mentor, the destructive trickster. These exact patterns appear in Native American folklore, on ancient Mediterranean artifacts, and in the script for Star Wars. Jung called this phenomenon the collective unconscious. Unlike our personal memories, this is a deep, shared layer of the mind containing universal human motifs, which he termed archetypes. The dragons in our dreams and the heroes in our theaters are manifestations of this inherited psychological source code. Jung eventually identified 12 primary archetypes, which operate in specific clusters to drive human behavior. The first grouping is driven strictly by the psychological need for stability and control. The ruler archetype embodies absolute authority. Terrified by the threat of chaos, the ruler seeks to impose strict order on their environment to maintain security. Working alongside the ruler is the creator. Driven by an intense fear of failure and mediocrity, the creator channels their imagination into physical reality, fighting chaos by building lasting innovations. To protect the vulnerable within that structure, we rely on the caregiver. They will endure extreme self-sacrifice to nurture others, terrified of seeing anyone suffer. These order archetypes act as the defensive walls of human society. They prevent our total collapse, but if left entirely unchecked, they risk creating a rigid, stagnant environment. Inside those defensive walls, individuals are driven by two primary forces: the ego's demand for identity and the social desire for connection. The Everyman archetype craves belonging above all else. They prefer to blend in, driven by a deep-seated terror of being alienated or excluded from the group. Conversely, the hero confronts the fear of weakness head-on. They are compelled to prove their worth through courageous acts, conquering physical and moral challenges to secure their standing. The innocent stands in sharp contrast to the hero's struggle. They simply want to exist in a pure, peaceful state, avoiding conflict entirely to maintain their safety and optimism. Then there is the lover, focused entirely on the pursuit of profound intimacy. Their actions are dictated by the ultimate fear of being unloved or rejected. Together, these archetypes drive the internal engine of ambition and relationship building, binding single individuals into cohesive communities. But a society built solely on order and belonging eventually stagnates. We require disruptive forces to provoke evolution and prevent decay. This is the explicit function of the rebel. When systems become too rigid or oppressive, the rebel breaks the rules to dismantle authority and force societal change. The explorer shares a similar aversion to confinement, but directs their energy outward. Driven by a deep restlessness, they break free from the mundane to discover uncharted territories and perspectives. The sage pursues a different kind of discovery. Terrified of ignorance, they devote their energy entirely to introspection, seeking to uncover objective truth and wisdom. While the sage observes, the magician acts. By understanding the deep, hidden laws of the universe, they attempt to bend and transform reality itself, turning abstract knowledge into tangible power. Finally, the jester keeps all of this seriousness in check. They use humor and playfulness to challenge conventions, ensuring we don't take our strict structures too seriously. These agents of freedom and transformation act as the necessary catalysts for human evolution, ensuring we adapt instead of freezing in outdated behaviors. It is crucial to understand that these 12 archetypes are not distinct personality types you can be assigned like a zodiac sign. They are latent potentials present within everyone. When a person over-identifies with just one of these primal forces, the entire psyche becomes dangerously unbalanced and unstable. A ruler obsessed entirely with order devolves into a tyrant. A caregiver who sacrifices their own needs entirely burns out into a resentful martyr. Clinging to a single fragment of the unconscious doesn't make you whole. It leads directly to psychological capture and self-destruction. To counter this fragmentation, Jung introduced a final concept, the self. It represents the balanced totality of the psyche, where all elements exist in harmony. Achieving this state requires individuation. This is the lifelong, deliberate process of recognizing and integrating all 12 of these disparate psychological fragments. The goal isn't to pick a favorite archetype. It is to master the entire framework you were born with, deploying the courage of the hero, the wisdom of the sage, or the compassion of the caregiver exactly when needed. Recognizing this universal source code allows us to stop acting out of blind compulsion. We awaken from our automatic programming, step out of the myth, and become our true selves.